Hey everyone, and welcome! Today we're tackling a really fascinating puzzle, something that gets right to the heart of how we communicate and, well, how we understand anything at all. So have you ever been there? You're in a discussion, maybe a book club, maybe just arguing with a friend online, and you're looking at the very same words on a page, but you're coming away with totally opposite conclusions. It's kind of baffling, isn't it? Well, the material we're digging into today goes head on into this problem, and it uses one of the most debated texts in history to unpack the hidden machinery behind how we all make sense of the world. All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, our source sets up a little thought experiment. Picture a group of friends, all of them super smart people, and they're all discussing a single passage from the Bible about an exorcism. But as you're about to see, they might as well be reading from completely different books. Okay, so first up we have Natalie. Now for Natalie, this text is basically a historical artifact. She's reading it through a modern scientific lens, and she concludes that what the text calls a demon, well, that's just an ancient pre-scientific way of talking about something like epilepsy or mental illness. Her world is governed by natural laws, so for her, that's the only story that makes sense. It's an open and shut case. Then you've got Carol. She's the historical analyst of the group. She's not really focused on whether it's true or false in a scientific sense. Instead, she's looking at its origins. She sees the text as a specific genre, a miracle story that was probably passed down and maybe, embellished over time. For Carol, the story is much more about the early church's agenda than about the event itself. Next up is Marvin. He reads the exact same passage and sees one thing: power. To him, this isn't about superstition or history. It's about social control. He sees the story as a piece of propaganda, a tool used by leaders to cement their authority over everybody else. And finally, there's Dick. And Dick basically argues that this whole debate is kind of pointless. From his point of view, language is like trying to grab a handful of water. It's slippery, you can't pin it down. Any meaning we think we find is just one we've invented, so no single interpretation can ever be the right one. So let's just take a step back. We have 4 intelligent people, 1 short text, and 4 completely different, mutually exclusive readings: a scientific takedown, a historical deep dive, a political critique, and basically a philosophical shrug. How is that even possible? Well, our source suggests the answer isn't about the words on the page. It's about something much, much deeper that each reader brings with them to the page. And this is where the source material hands us a key to unlock this whole puzzle. It's a concept called the interpretive center. So what on earth is an interpretive center? Just think of it like this. It's your ultimate authority. It's your non-negotiable bedrock truth that you use to make sense of everything else. It's the lens, the fundamental lens, through which you see the world. For Natalie, that lens was scientific materialism. For Marvin, it was class struggle. Each one of them had a different god at the very center of their reading. Now, what this framework really gets at is that every single reader, whether they realize it or not, is making a fundamental choice. On one side, you have what the source calls a God-centered interpretation. Here, your goal is to listen to the text and be open to being changed by it. But on the other side, you have an idol-centered interpretation, where the goal is really just to use the text to prove what you already believe, making your own reason the final judge. Now, this whole idea of an idol is absolutely central to the argument, but it probably doesn't mean what you think it means. We're not talking about a golden statue here. In this context, an idol is any concept, any idea, or any value that we elevate to the level of ultimate reality. It becomes a substitute god, our new interpretive center. It's a counterfeit that we put in place of the real thing. And these idols are often things we see as perfectly normal, even good. But the key idea here is that literally anything can become an idol the moment we make it our absolute non-negotiable starting point. So that could be pure human reason, or scientific materialism, or a commitment to social liberation. It could even be the pursuit of wealth, or putting the ultimate authority in the state. And this table here really lays out the consequences. An idol-centered reading creates what our source calls a counterfeit. I mean, it looks like interpretation, but it's fundamentally twisted. Authority shifts from the text itself to the reader's own mind. Meaning isn't something you discover, it's something you create. And the goal changes from trying to understand and obey to just serving the reader's own purposes, whether that's personal fulfillment or a political project. But here's where this idea gets really big. Choosing the wrong interpretive center doesn't just cause a few little mistakes here and there. Nope. The effect is total. Think of it like this. Imagine you have a compass, but its north is actually pointing west. You're not just going to make one wrong turn. Every single step you take from that point on is going to be off. Your entire map of reality is warped from the very beginning. That's what the source calls the global distortion effect. So let's just walk through this ripple effect, because it's like a set of dominoes. It all starts when an idol, let's say it's scientific reason or political power, is made the ultimate authority. Well, that immediately changes the reader's view of the text author and its purpose. From there, the meaning of every single passage gets filtered through that idol's lens, until eventually even the meaning of individual words is bent to serve that counterfeit center. It's a complete takeover. So after all that, what does this actually mean for us right now? Well, this is the point where we have to turn that lens around and start looking at our own assumptions. Because the real power of this idea isn't just for theology. It's a tool for thinking about how we interpret, well, anything. A news article, a political speech, a scientific study, even a simple conversation with a friend. It forces us to ask that uncomfortable question: what's my non-negotiable starting point? What's the ultimate authority that I'm using to make sense of all this? And this quote from the author, Vern Poythress, just nails the whole argument. The big insight here is that there's no neutral ground. Every time we interpret something, it's an act of allegiance to some ultimate authority, whether we realize it or not. The only choice we have is between the original and the counterfeit. And that leaves all of us with a pretty challenging final question. When you read, when you listen, when you argue, when you just try to make sense of the world, what is the ultimate non-negotiable authority you're starting from? What really sits at the center of your interpretation? That's a question worth chewing on. Thanks for digging into this with us today.